The things you have to learn about when you start caring about animals is really just disturbing, deeply disturbing. Welcome to Rising Anxieties. I'm Mariann Sullivan. This is where we talk about what's making me worried, what's making the industry worried. I like to talk more about what's making the industry worried, but I worry a lot. As I say all the time, I'm going to turn this light on. Is that better? I don't know. So don't forget, we're a podcast. We're on YouTube. Please subscribe and hit like wherever you listen. And I'm going to start out by talking about something that I think is worrying all of us, and that's Ridglan. And of course, the big Ridglan rescue was this past weekend, and it turned out not to be a rescue. It turned out to be a very, very upsetting incident between many, many activists who went to Wisconsin to participate and hopefully rescue at least some of the 2,000 dogs being held by this outfit. And they were met with really a very overwhelming and violent response, and a lot of people are really upset about it. I don't have any inside information, so I'm not going to talk about it in any kind of detail. I know what anybody else knows. I will say that the New York Times article was good. The reporting so far, I mean, the USA Today article I thought was they mostly talked about the only thing being done wrong to these dogs with cherry eye surgeries. They didn't explain what that was. It's absolutely, those are horrifying, and there's plenty else wrong. But still, from what I hear, the press has been really on the side of the animals, that's a good thing. And I think most of this is still to play out. People have been arrested. That was inevitable, I think. And people are being charged. There's some talk of the FBI being involved. The huge part of open rescues happens after the rescue. It's the legal stuff. And whether that is going to be positive development or a disaster, we just don't know yet. So that's where I am. Like I said, I don't have any inside information, so I'm not going to just sit here and opine about it. But I didn't want to let the moment go by without at least talking about it. I did get one article that I wanted to talk about in Rising Anxieties. Unfortunately, I couldn't get the article because I would have had to pay for it, and I didn't want to. It's from the Boston Globe, which has a paywall. I couldn't get the article otherwise, but I think the headline tells the whole thing. This is from listener Eric Robinson. She was Time Out Market's only vegan vendor. Now she's leaving after being asked to serve dairy. Like, come on. Apparently, Time Out Market is this, one of these places that has a lot of different vendors. And they've been they recently got a new owner. They were a little on the rocks financially, I think. So, and so this is this place, Lulu's, same name as my dog, Lulu Green. And their new management asked her to serve dairy milk. Like, come on. It's a problem when we try to be flexible in our communication. So we create the big tent that we're all talking about and invite people in and don't act really rigid. But they don't understand that doesn't mean that we're going to serve animal milk. Like, I feel really sorry for this woman. Apparently, it was a great stand. I would have gone to it if I had been in Boston. And as Eric said, this really raised his blood pressure. Hope it doesn't mind, because mine is pretty high to start off with. But yeah, God, it sucks. All right, but I have a few good things to talk about. One is this is an article from Sentient Media. This is so interesting, I think. This is by their writer, Seth Milstein. Picture this pig. Diners shift from selecting meat on the menu. And this is about a study done at Yale. And they went around to these, or they did a study. I'm sorry, I lost my notes for a second. But they did this study of university students, staff, and visitors. So they're at cafeterias, and they give them exact same information about the food. And the only difference is that there's a meat dish, and again, next to the meat dish, they put a picture of the animal. And from what I can tell from this article, it wasn't a horrible picture of the animal, like the animal suffering. It was just a picture of the animal. And The number of people ordering the vegetarian dishes went 22% higher. That's like unbelievable. Like, if we could just come up with ways, and this is one way to remind people that meat is made out of animals, because apparently people can't keep that in their head. Like, it's apparently it is very hard information to absorb, and if we can just do that, uh, we could drop their meat consumption by 22%. Wow. So this is, a nudge effect, and we're hearing more and more of those, and, just kind of, things like greener by default, are like coming up with ways to like ease people, not mandate people, not force people, but ease people into eating fewer animals. 22%. It's crazy. Um, all right. Cancer rates are higher near factory farms. This is also from Sentient Media. And this is something that should be raising people's anxieties. I don't know whether it is, but this is pretty overwhelming evidence. In California, Texas, and Iowa, cancer rates are 4 to 8% higher in areas with more industrial animal agriculture. I know you're not surprised, but still, to have that kind of firm number, and that's a lot. I mean, up to 8%, just because they're in these areas. Iowa, of course, is, the queen of factory farming. And a recent report from the Iowa Environmental Council and Harkin Institute found that high levels of environmental contaminants, including nitrates, are linked to cancer risk and are ubiquitous across Iowa. What a shocker. And the state has the second highest and fastest rising cancer rate in the United States. This is such a disgrace. It's really such a disgrace. Like, these people, even the vegans are getting cancer, I'm sure, because there's no way to escape this. It's especially tricky in rural counties, says this one of the directors of the Environmental Working Group. It's especially tricky in rural counties to tie something specific to increased rates of cancer, because we know rural counties oftentimes have less preventative health care, lower incomes, higher age, but still, they could compare them to other rural counties. And so yeah, I mean, this is the kind of information that I really think does get through to people. So I hope it does. I'll just close with this quote from Dr. Naman Shah, who's an epidemiologist in LA at the Department of Public Health. The more and more we learn about the health impacts of these businesses, we need a change in regulatory code that really centers the public health responsibility, which is about protecting the population in nearby communities, compared to where it's traditionally been with the Department of Agriculture, which has just a very different mandate, including promotion of the industry. I think that says it all. The regulation of these industries has to be at least partly within the departments of public health, because they are public health hazards. All right. Spring births. You'll be glad to hear there's all these births going on factory farms. Or no, you wouldn't. I really, it's just one of these stupid articles from Hordes Dairy, whatever they're called. And this is mostly about how all the cute animals are on the farm. It's a dairy farm mostly, but they have other animals as well. And then talking about how dairy cows have calves all year round. So the article doesn't really have anything to do with the spring births. But this is by Molly Indy Schmidt. Regardless, she says, of when they are born or how many come in a given day, farmers of all kinds are dedicated to nurturing young livestock and getting them the care they need from the moment they arrive, which is when they take them away from their mothers. She doesn't say that part. Being caretakers for such vulnerable beings is both challenging and rewarding, with its own set of highs and lows. And then there's this picture of this just like, I mean, baby animals are pretty cute. This little calf, he has a big ugly tag in his ear. He's number 2604, and he's in a very nice place. It's got a lot of hay with some other calves, and not with his mother. And the thing we have to remember as advocates is that they believe their own nonsense. Most of them. Some of this is a lot of things. We're finding out so much more about human nature in our current political crisis. And one of the things is that people believe themselves. when I think that's a really important thing when we're communicating. All right, let's talk about disease because it's always one of my favorite topics. Border remains closed. Sterile fly production facility groundbreaking. Next step in screwworm fight. This is from Drovers. And this is about your tax money, $750 million worth of it, that built a facility in Texas to breed flies that are sterile. Aren't you glad about your tax money at work? Well, at least nobody's stealing it. Well, I guess that's sort of stealing it. So that's what they're doing. They're still completely panicked about New World screwworm, which is in Mexico within 200 miles of the border and getting closer all the time. And they think that these sterile flies, that this is the answer, that when they breed, because they're sterile, when they breed, there won't be more flies being produced, and that's going to stop everything. God knows the things you have to learn about when you start caring about animals is really just disturbing, deeply disturbing. So they're not open. There was a lot of rumors that they were going to open the border to Mexican cattle. They're not. Apparently not that relaxed about it, but they think this is going to fix everything. Hundreds of millions of dollars to breed sterile flies. That's the world you live in. All right, another disease case, another disease article. This is by Jennifer Scheich from Pork Business. Foot and mouth disease or Seneca virus A. Why swine producers can't afford a mix-up. Apparently, this is a new one on me. Seneca virus A, and it doesn't say exactly. So it kind of says what the symptoms are, but it doesn't say how serious it is. But apparently, it's not nearly as serious as foot and mouth disease, which you have is just really, really dire. Um, but apparently there's now a Seneca virus A spreading around the US, gaining momentum, possibly going endemic. And you can't tell the difference between it and foot and mouth disease. And that's their big problem because they have to really respond more vigorously to foot and mouth disease. Both viruses, these are the symptoms, cause vesicular lesions on the snout, mouth, and coronary bands, often resulting in sudden lameness. Fuck you. Just fuck you. Like these are living creatures that are suffering this, and you don't care at all, except that it might be confused with foot and mouth disease, which would mean you would have to kill them all. With new foot and mouth disease serotypes emerging globally that current vaccines cannot stop, the stakes for U.S. biosecurity have never been higher. Like, this whole industry is just sickness. It's like there's one disease after another, and all they manage to do is get taxpayers to pay enormous amounts of money to kill the animals and replace them. That's how this whole business works. You know that. I'm sorry. All right. The dangers of complacency. This is what she says. While the U.S. remains foot and mouth disease free, that's what they think, the global landscape is shifting. There is a need for more standardized surveillance of SVA, that's this Seneca virus, and improved serological tests to accurately identify previously exposed or carrier animals in a population where the virus is now endemic. All right, it's just, I won't go on. It's just one more thing. And, guess whose taxpayers' money? It doesn't say anything about taxpayer money here, but let's face it, this is the kind of thing the USDA loves to jump in on. From lawsuits to screwworms, policy uncertainty rolls downhill to producers. This is from Drovers. This is all right. They're talking about screws, but I already talked about that. The thing I wanted to talk about here is this, because this is from Drovers, which is basically cattle. They talk about the cattle industry. And the thing they're really upset about is this Oklahoma lawsuit that's been going on apparently for 20 years, has to do with poultry litter. When they talk about litter, you know how you buy cat litter and then after you use it, it's disgusting? Well, when they're talking about poultry litter, they're talking about whatever they put underneath the chickens, but they're talking about it after the chickens have been pooping and peeing on it, like for really a long time. Much worse than your cat litter, I'm sure, unless you're very irresponsible. All right, whether it's a 20-year lawsuit over poultry litter in Oklahoma, the National Cattlemen's Beef Association's Ethan Lane sees the same pattern as he does with screwworm. The burden eventually falls on cattle producers. These people are the ultimate victims. They really do always see themselves as victims, like cattle producers aren't making any money. All right. So this lawsuit, as I said, has been going on for 20 years. And there was a settlement not too long ago, a proposed settlement, but courts have to oversee settlements. And so the state of Oklahoma tried to settle with Tyson Foods about this the application of chicken litter, which means dumping chicken feces and urine into the Illinois River watershed. And they got in trouble for it. And they've been litigating it for 20 years. I don't know what's gone on for all those 20 years. I'm sure it's been back and forth a number of times. And these are cattle producers who were really upset because the court, when asked to oversee the settlement, said, that is not good enough. Good for the court. The state of Oklahoma was willing to go along with it, but the court said, no, we have to do a better job here. And this is not in accordance with the law. And it has to do a lot with these nutrient management plans, which, is one of the major ways that factory farm pollution is regulated. So according to this article, if a state can settle in a way that undermines NMPs, nutrient management plans, it sends a message that even when producers, quote, check all the boxes, they can still have the rug pulled out from underneath them in federal court. Yeah, I bet they're checking all the boxes. Yeah, they are. And I think it's really interesting that it's the cattle producers who are worried about this lawsuit because, one of the things that all of these industries have to deal with is shit, and really, really a lot of it, and it's getting more and more and more dangerous for everybody. So, yeah, they're anxious about it. I'm glad. I'm glad they're anxious. Not glad for all the reasons they're anxious. And I guess that's it for this week's Rising Anxieties. And thanks for tuning in. That's what I was supposed to say. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment on your favorite podcatcher or on YouTube, and tune into the Hen Report and the Our Hen House interview. Last Friday's interview was really wonderful. I really suggest you listen to it. It was with Jordi Casamajana. It's an activist in the UK. This coming Friday will be an animal law podcast about some new developments with the Endangered Species Act with Noah Greenwald of the Center for Biological Diversity. So this is a really good conversation. So thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to tune into everything else.